Hello. Today we're going to work on angle relationships. This is Chapter 8, Lesson 1 of your textbook. And the TEK that we're going to be working on today is 7.11c. So our first definition is vertex. It's a point where two rays meet, or a point where two lines meet. And a ray is a line with a start point, but no end point. It goes on to infinity. So here you can see a start point and it goes in this direction, infinity. You should have a foldable that you've already folded. The title is Special Angle Pairs, and this is how they should be set up. This is the different levels here. If you open up to the first page, two angles are complementary if the sum of their angles is 90 degrees. This little symbol right here tells us that it's 90 degrees. You could also write out the word degrees, but this will be preferred, the little symbol. Two angles are supplementary if the sum of their angles is 180 degrees. So when you put these angles together, these angles form a straight line. So 180 degrees is a straight line all the way across. Okay, so up here again, complementary angles, two angles that form a 90-degree angle. So we know that this angle is 29 degrees. We know that the full angle is 90 degrees. So if we take 90 degrees and subtract the 29 degrees, we know that this angle right here with the question mark in between here is 61 degrees. Down here we have two angles that when they're put together, they form this straight line. Remember, a straight line is going to give you a 180-degree angle. So they gave us one of the measurements here, 41 degrees. So you can take the 180 degrees, and subtract the 41 degrees, and you should get 139 degrees, which is right here. If you want to set this up algebraically, you can do 41 plus the x is going to be this unknown angle that we have here, and we know that when we add them together, we're going to get 180 degrees. Vertical angles are opposite of each other. Okay, so 2 and 4 will be vertical angles, they're opposite, and 1 and 3 are opposite. Okay, so they are congruent, or in other words, they are equal. So whatever angle 4 is equal to, number 2 is also equal to that angle. Same thing with 1 and 3. Adjacent angles are two angles that share a common ray. In other words, they are next to each other. So adjacent, the word adjacent means next to, and they're going to share a ray that's in the middle. So adjacent angles here would be 3 and 4, 4 and 1, 1 and 2, 2 and 3. Okay, if we're looking at this one down here on the bottom, I have the adjacent angles written out. This symbol right here is the symbol for angle, and I'll show you that a little bit more in class. So we have angle 1 and angle 2. I just numbered them. They're adjacent. 2 and 3 are adjacent. 3 and 4 are adjacent. 4 and 5 are adjacent. And then 5 and 1 are also adjacent. The numbers may not go in order like that every time. So it says, name the following angle 4 ways and classify as acute, obtuse, straight, or right. So first we want to label it 4 ways, okay? This is the angle that we're looking at right here. And we can call this angle by simply the letter that's in the corner here, which is Q. So I can call this angle Q. I can also call this angle 5. It's labeled with the number 5 there. It doesn't have 5 degrees on it, so it doesn't mean that this measurement is 5 degrees. They're just putting a number in there instead of a letter. Another way that we can name this is we can name the points that make it up. So we have 2 rays here that make up this angle. So I can say P, Q, R. You always want the letter of the actual angle in the middle. Okay, so that's why I have it underlined here. Or we could go in the other direction, angle RQP. So you know always that that middle letter there is going to be where your angle is, and that's how you can find it. Okay, since this angle is in 90 degrees, we are going to consider this a right angle. Remember, acute will be smaller than 90, obtuse is larger than 90, straight would be that 180 degrees, and then of course this is a right angle, the 90 degrees. Okay, on the next page we're looking at these points here, and we have our angle. So our vertex, the point where the two lines meet, or the point where, in this case, the two rays meet, is angle N. And if we want to write it as a number, we can put angle 3. Again, it doesn't have a degree symbol on it, so that's not telling you how many degrees this angle is. So the vertex as the middle letter and a point from each side. So again, most of the time you're going to go in alphabetical order, but remember, you always want to make that angle, that point where those two rays go from the starting point, that is going to be your middle letter. So we want to keep N in the middle. So we have M, N, O, angle M, N, O. And then if we go in the reverse order, we have angle O, N, M. Always with that angle N in the middle. Write an equation to find the missing angle measure using what you know about angle relationships. So the steps are, you're going to determine if the angle is a right angle or a straight angle. Well, remember, straight meant that it was a straight line, and we don't have that. This little symbol here tells us that this is a right angle, which is 90 degrees. So the second says add both angles to equal either 90 degrees or 180 degrees. We know that this is 90 degrees, the entire angle, because of this little symbol here. Remember, we can't guess on anything. We have to know for sure. This lets us know for sure that this is a 90-degree angle. So we can add both of these angles, and they should equal 90 degrees. So here they're telling you to solve for x. This is how they set it up. They said because this is a right angle, I'm going to say 90 equals, and then this angle right here is 3x. This angle right here is 60. So they're just adding them up, and then we're going to just solve this algebraically. First, you're going to look for addition or subtraction on the side with the variable. So we have plus 60, so you're going to subtract 60 from both sides of the equal. The 60s cancel out, bring your 3x down, equals, and then 90 minus 60 gives you the 30 there. We want to solve for x. We want to isolate that variable. So we want to divide by the coefficient. Remember, the number that's with the variable is our coefficient, and we want to divide by that number so that we can get our variable by itself. And so then we have 30 divided by 3, so x equals 10. Remember, x equals 10, so when we come back to this unknown angle that we have here, it doesn't just say that the angle equals x, it equals 3x. So then we have to plug that value for x in, and then we get 3 times 10 equals 30, and this whole thing is a degree measure. This degree marker out here tells you whatever's inside the parentheses, that is the degree. So the missing angle measurement is 30 degrees. Write an equation to find the missing angle measure using what you know about angle relationships. Find the value of x. So here you want to find a vertical or adjacent angle to the missing angle. Okay, so right here we have 5x degrees, 95 degrees, 85 degrees, and then 5y degrees. Now they only want you to solve for x, so that's what we want to look for. We have a missing variable y. We don't want to look at that though. We're trying to find x. Okay, so the thing that we can do is we could either use what is right next to it, so we can use the adjacent angle, and because this is a 180 degrees, this is a straight line, I could set it up equal to 180 degrees. But because I have vertical angles here, I can also say that because they are vertical, they're right across from each other, these two are equal. So when we write an equation, we can write it as 85 equals 5x. Remember, these are degree measures, so when we're done, we're going to want to add that. You want to isolate the variable x, so we need to divide by the coefficient. Our coefficient here is 5. 85 divided by 5 gives us 17 equals x. So again, on this one, we have 5x degrees. So we're going to have to plug in what we found for x into that x spot, that variable spot. Then we have 5 times 17 equals the 85. We said earlier that vertical angles are equal. So 85 degrees equals 85 degrees. Our answer checks. So we know that x equals 17 for sure. This is it for your notes for today. Make sure to do the rest of your homework, and I will see you tomorrow. Have a good evening.